Can you hear me? Okay. Hi. So thank you so much for your time and for hearing about Kratom yet again. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. I've been studying Kratom since 2017 before I went to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, where I actually really started pioneering my NIDA-funded work on Kratom. I serve as a scientific advisor to the International Planet Herbal Alliance. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I actually became aware of Kratom in 2015 doing my clinical training. I want to just say that the views expressed today do not necessarily represent those of Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. I have to say that. I'm here as me. I'm not with any of the associations. I am not in this industry. I do independent and NIH-funded research on Kratom, and I'm one of the experts in this field. So I am here to support this legislation. The fact is, and a lot of people have talked about the FDA study, I'm not going to belabor that point, but the fact is, if Kratom leaf or extract product met criteria for scheduling under the Controlled Substances Act, it would be scheduled. It's not. It's been used in America now for 20 years that we can prove, probably a little bit longer than that, but definitely since 2004. The regulation of natural Kratom products and its constituents is needed. These alkaloids in Kratom itself, they're not cannabinoids, they're not hallucinogens, they're not opioids, which I know a lot of people Google Kratom, opioid pops up. It is not an opioid by definition, and I can talk about the pharmacology and the complexity of that. With any questions you have, I welcome those questions. And, it makes it complicated though, right? It does not fit into one little box. And I think that's one reason why it's taken so long for this bill to get more traction and understanding with the health department, with other people, because it is complicated. It's not an easy thing that just is one little box. I first started, in this space because people were using it, and they're still using it as a harm reduction tool. I mean, that has just been borne out in the literature and my studies time and again. But what we now see are people who are using Kratom responsibly for energy, for productivity. I did an ecological momentary assessment study when I was still at NIDA. We had 13,401 unique use events measured via smartphone over 15 days. We tested the products to see what the chemical composition was. I had another study at NIDA. We had people come in, take their products, that are in commerce, and measure, respiratory rate, impairment, driving impairment, all of these things. I have 2 clinical studies or clinical trials at Hopkins, and what we are seeing with people coming in and taking their, again, leaf and extract products, we're not seeing impairment, we're not seeing concerning clinical symptoms, and some of these people have been using for a long time. So what I'm doing is modeling real-world use in a controlled human laboratory setting over days and nights that we keep them in this unit, which converges with the FDA study that you heard about earlier. That study is with people who are healthy volunteers who have never taken Kratom before. And again, the adverse events, there were hardly any, and it was at high doses. And believe me, if I took 12 grams of plant material, I would be nauseous as well. So the fact that that safety study found really no adverse events of consequence, my studies using commercial products are not finding adverse events. When we take these 2 bookends and put them together, we're getting this story that's really coming together. I have no life. All I do is study this, and I can say that I am the leading expert on Kratom-related physical dependence and addiction. We have people go into withdrawal in my study, one of my studies. I can talk about that ad nauseum, so I'm going to just leave that there for you to ask questions about. But I want to say that as the science continues to grow, we do need regulation. Prohibition has not worked out well in the past. I am deeply concerned, though, about amendments that would have an additional psychoactive botanical inserted into Kratom products. At that point, it's not Kratom. That's a different product that has Kratom as an ingredient. It is not Kratom. It shouldn't be in this act. It has no place in this act. And I actually agree with Representative Kennedy here. That's a separate bill for a separate day. This is about Kratom, and I don't think that we should be mixing psychoactive botanicals. I've reviewed the one study that has been recently done on Kratom and kava blended products. I found it to be abysmal. I'm also happy to talk about why I found that to be abysmal and not a basis for safety for going to market with kava and Kratom in one formulation. So when I say that we have now 20 years of data that supports the regulation and the legalization of Kratom, you know, it is there. The substance is there. NIDA has invested $60 million into looking into mitragynine, which is Kratom's major alkaloid, for potential therapeutic development and pharmaceutical development. Meanwhile, they have a notice of special interest for natural products for substance use disorders, Kratom being one of the botanicals that they want to look at and have asked me to put in a grant for. So not just a pharmaceutical potentially, but a natural product that is in commerce for people to use as a harm reduction tool. You know, I'm not some like radical, I'm really like moderate and grounded. So the reason I'm here is like the people. I will end by saying that like there are people behind this. Like we're talking about this like, you know, it's a product and it's industry and whatever, but like there are real humans that do use this very responsibly and who in many ways depend on it for their long-term recovery. And I'm here really on behalf of those people. And with that, I will stop talking.